Welcome to the Doctor Who recap. This video series will attempt to recap every single episode of Doctor Who from the classic era, including lost episodes, to the modern era. The Keys of Marinus was the fifth serial of Doctor Who. It was notable for its structure, in that it was one of several travelling serials. Like Marco Polo before it, it had the main cast moving to a different setting in almost every episode. It also introduced the Voord, the first in a long line of deliberate, but generally unsuccessful, attempts to find an enemy as popular as the Daleks. The first Doctor and his companions, Barbara Wright, Ian Chesterton and Susan, land on an island and find the beach is made of glass and the sea of acid. The latter is demonstrated when Susan tries to paddle in a rock pool. Barbara accidentally knocks one of Susan's shoes, which were placed on one of the rocks around the pool, into the water, where it dissolves. Susan returns to the TARDIS for a new pair, and is followed by a mysterious creature in a rubber suit. While Susan is gone, the Doctor, Ian and Barbara discover 4 glass submarines, one of which holds an empty rubber suit with a rip in one leg. It seems that the creature, who wore the suit, perished in its journey when the acid got inside. When Susan gets to the TARDIS, she finds footprints. She follows them to a tower looming in the distance. As she looks around, the mysterious creature waits around a corner to strike at her. Just before this happens, the wall revolves and eliminates the creature. Finding Susan is not at the TARDIS, the others go to explore the tower. They decide to split up. The Doctor is brought inside the tower through the spinning walls, as are Ian and Barbara. Meanwhile, Susan finds another of the mysterious creatures which, on the point of attacking her, is stabbed by a mysterious, monk-like figure, who then leaves. The Doctor and Barbara find Susan soon afterwards. Ian discovers one of these creatures fighting with the robed man, and pulls the creature off him. The creature is thrown back against a wall during the struggle. A hidden panel opens and the creature plunges down a shaft straight into a pool of acid deep beneath the building. The man introduces himself as Arbiton, and he takes Ian to reunite with the others. Arbiton explains that the creatures are called Voords and that he is keeper of the conscience of Marinus, a vast computer developed 2 millennia earlier, as a justice machine which kept law and order across the entire planet. For 7 centuries it was absolute, radiating its power around the planet and eliminating even evil thoughts. Then a Voord named Yartek worked out how to resist its impulses and corrupted the system. Arbiton explains that the conscience has now been upgraded to control the Voord again and needs to be activated. Years earlier, he saved it from Voord control by separating the 5 keys that regulate it. The 5 keys are in different locations, one is in his possession, but the others are scattered over Marinus. He suggests that the Doctor and his companions find them, as all his friends and family have failed to return from the effort. The Doctor refuses and leaves for the TARDIS. When he gets there he finds a force field around it. Arbiton says he has been forced to cut the travellers off from the TARDIS so they will find the keys for him. The Doctor and his companions return to the tower to discover that they are to be moved around the island using preset travel dials. As the 4 teleport away using the dials, Arbiton is overcome and stabbed to death by a Voord that has gained access to the tower. When the travellers reach their destination they discover Barbara, who teleported first, has vanished, leaving only her travel dial, which has blood on it. The Doctor, Susan and Ian search for Barbara on the other side of a set of double doors. As they open them an alarm goes off, accompanied by a blinding light. When they stop they see Barbara reclining on a chaise, her every need being attended to, as if she were a queen. She explains that as she was transported, she panicked and tore at her travel dial, scratching her wrist. The dial then fell off. One of the inhabitants, Altos, says that they are in the city of Morphoton, an advanced and pacific society. He impresses the travelers with the luxuries, advances and aesthetics of the city. Initially skeptical, the Doctor and Ian are won over by the generous hospitality and beneficence that the people bestow upon them. In the night, a young slave girl, Sabetha, places a small disc on the heads of the sleeping travelers. While Barbara sleeps, her disc falls off. The powerful hypnotic pulse, the mesmeran, has no effect on her. Morphoton is governed by 4 brain creatures with hideous eyes on stalks, which communicate through their life support machines. The brains of Morphoton use hypnosis to control the entire city. They have outgrown their bodies, and the entire human population of the city is now subject to their will. When Barbara wakes, she sees the truth: the city is a place of dirt and squalor. She disturbs her fellow travelers with her assessment, claiming that what appears luxurious is squalid. The doctor and Ian offer her a drink of what they perceive as a goblet of fresh fruit juice, but Barbara rejects it in disgust, seeing it for what it truly is: a dirty china mug full of stagnant water. When Susan shows her new dress, Barbara says it is just dirty rags. All this fuss attracting the attention of the guards, Barbara is taken from her friends, but escapes from the clutches of Altos. She finds her way into the dungeons and meets with Sabetha. Barbara deduces Sabetha is Arbiton's missing daughter. She is wearing one of the Keys of Marinus about her neck. Meanwhile, the doctor and Ian are taken to what appears to be a state-of-the-art laboratory, but it is just an empty room, and the so-called scientific instruments contained within are just old mugs and plates. Barbara tries to break Sabetha's conditioning, but fails. Altos comes to take Sabetha away, as per the brains of Morphoton order, and stops Barbara's escape. Sabetha knocks out Altos. Barbara leaves, promising Sabetha she will return for her. As Barbara prowls the corridors, she comes across Ian, whom she embraces. As they talk, she realizes that the brains of Morphoton now control him. They will punish Sabetha, make Susan take her place, put Ian to work, and make the doctor work in the lab. Ian takes Barbara to the brains of Morphoton, who order Ian to kill her. He begins to strangle Barbara, but she breaks free and smashes the control room and life support systems. The brains die, and all the human subjects of the city are freed with their original memories returned. They start to destroy the city. Altos remembers he too was sent to the city by Arbiton, and he and Sabetha decide to join the doctor and his friends on their quest. The 6 now split up. The doctor goes ahead to find the final key in the city of Millennius, while the others venture to find the second key in the next destination. Susan arrives first, wanting to avoid a long goodbye with her grandfather, but soon her ears are deafened by a growing screeching. The next location for the 5 is a dangerous, screaming jungle, which has a particularly debilitating effect on Susan. In the jungle is an ancient temple. Ian finds an archway, but it is overgrown with the copious flora. While Ian, Sabetha and Altos look for another entry, the flora reaches out to grab Susan. Even though Ian instructed Barbara not to go into the temple, she finds that the flora can be moved easily. She walks down the passage where she finds a statue, which to her surprise has the key propped on the top. However, when Barbara takes the key, the statue holds onto her and the wall reverses, trapping her. Her companions decide that if she were in real trouble she would use her travel dial to escape, but Ian is skeptical and wants to ensure her safety. He tells the others to go on while he stays to rescue Barbara. As they go, Sabetha realizes that the key is a fake, it is shorter than the other one. This gives Ian more reason to stay on. Once they are gone, Ian replicates Barbara's movements and is likewise trapped. He finds Barbara in a large, booby-trapped hall. Barbara saves his life by shouting as a statue brings its axe down where he was standing. They find doors which need a metal bar to open. Ian finds a bar, but this is also a trap and brings prison walls down around him. Barbara is the victim of a trap when she walks through the doors that have magically opened and is trapped in a net, as the dagger-filled roof lowers itself on her. In the temple is an aged and dying scientist, Dorius, who wears a robe similar to Arbiton's. He stops the roof to save Barbara. He suspects she may be a Voord. Doubtful she has been sent from Marinus, he takes her time dial to inspect. Ian, who has escaped from his prison, finds them just in time to save Dorius from a creeper. The weak, old man explains the traps of the temple are for the Voord. He too is a friend of Arbiton. Before dying, he tells Ian and Barbara the key is hidden in DE302 and points to a door. Upon entering the next room, they find it is a laboratory. Their attention is drawn to a safe on one of the lab benches, which has letters and numbers on the dial. Ian thinks DE302 could be the combination and tries it, but the safe remains locked. He tries a second time, treating the 3 and 2 as the number of dial turns, but again the safe fails to open. Ian and Barbara come to the conclusion that Dorius may not have been referring to the safe at all, and search the room. As they do so, Ian finds Dorius's research on mutating flora, with a growth accelerator, and increasing the rate of nature. As night falls, the screaming of the jungle starts and tree branches enter the laboratory to destroy the equipment. Ian realizes that the letters and numbers are chemical symbols. The two barely retrieve the key from a jar labeled DE302 before the vegetation overruns the room. Jumping to the next location, they find it bitterly, paralyzingly cold. Ian and Barbara teleport to an icy wasteland. Unable to move in the crippling cold, they pass out. They wake to a suspicious trapper, Vaza, who brought them back to his hut after Altos forced him to help save them. He also reveals that he saw two girls, who they work out are Susan and Sabatha, in a nearby cave, but would not risk his life to save them. Ian offers to go and trades his dial for some of Vaza's furs. He gives him a lantern and a bag, leaving Barbara alone with Vaza. As she clears away dishes, she finds the chain that Sabatha was wearing, along with 4 travel dials, in a drawer. Vaza sees her looking and tells Barbara that he left the 2 girls to die, and that this is his plan for Ian, too. He then attacks Barbara. In the wastes, Ian finds Altos, bound and abandoned. Altos tells him Vaza is to blame. He inspects the bag Ian is carrying, revealing that it is full of raw meat. Vaza clearly hoped that it would attract the attention of the wolves. Ian throws the bag away, and they return to the trapper's hut, confronting him before he can attack Barbara. They order him to reveal the stolen keys in his possession and take them to the caves where he abandoned Sabatha and Susan. Vaza refuses, claiming there are demons in the cave, but the 2 men force him. The 2 girls have searched the icy caves themselves and have uncovered a block of ice connected to piping. It is protected by ice soldiers, seemingly statues. As they run from the statues, they meet their friends, who have crossed a rickety rope bridge. In revenge, Vaza unties one end of the bridge, trapping them on the other side, while Ian and Altos make a bridge of tree trunks to cross the chasm. They find the next key frozen in the block of ice. They remove the key by turning a dial on one of the pipes, which releases heat from a volcanic spring. This also revives the ice soldiers, who chase after the travelers to regain their key. Susan bravely crawls across the wobbly trunks over the chasm and reattach the bridge. They flee to the trapper's cottage to retrieve their stolen dials. Before they use them, however, Vaza grabs Susan and forces the travelers to fight the soldiers. Vaza is killed by the ice soldiers as they break into his cabin and the travelers activate their travel dials. In the next location, Ian discovers the key in a display case, with a dead man lying on the floor nearby. Soon Ian himself is knocked out by a man who steals the key. Before he leaves, the man frames Ian for the murder of the mutilated body by placing the bludgeon in his hand. When he wakes, Ian finds himself accused of the murder of Eprin, a friend of Altos who discovered the key shortly before his death. With the key having disappeared, Ian is also accused of theft. In the city of Millennius, the legal system is guilty until proven innocent. In other words, Ian is already guilty of the crimes of which he is accused, and the sentence will be death unless he is found to be innocent by the court of Millennius. It is up to the defense to prove Ian's innocence beyond reasonable doubt. The other travelers are reunited before Ian's trial, at which the Doctor returns and agrees to serve as defense counsel. He gets a postponement for 2 days while he gathers evidence and uses the time to work out what really happened to Eprin. He deduces that the relief guard, Aidan, is the one who attacked Ian and stole the key. To find evidence, Barbara and Susan go to the apartment of Aidan and talk to his wife, Carla, who gives away nothing. When Aidan returns home, he is angry with the women and, after nearly giving away that he stole the key, orders Barbara and Susan to leave. Outside in the corridor, they hear a loud slap and a scream of pain from Carla. Aidan has obviously hit her across the face. During the trial, the Doctor calls Sabatha as a witness. He tricks Aidan into confessing by claiming that one of the already recovered keys is the one that they found in Aidan's hiding place. Aidan confesses, but is shot and killed by an unseen person before he can implicate anyone else. As the Doctor sums up, Barbara, Sabatha and Altos are taken out of the trial by Lan. They get a telephone call which Barbara answers. It is Susan, who says that the murderers have kidnapped her, and they are going to kill her if the trio don't stop investigating. Altos, Barbara, and Sabatha decide not to tell the Doctor of Susan's disappearance, and to visit Carla to see if she has any information on who might be connected to her husband's death and Susan's kidnapping. She says she can't help them and breaks down in tears, but begins laughing when the trio leave. Susan is bound and gagged in another room. Carla takes a phone call from someone saying that Ian has been sentenced and Susan can be killed. The trio realize it must be Carla, who has taken Susan hostage, as she had talked of the call they got from Susan without any of them having mentioned it during their visit. They return before Carla kills Susan, as she did her own husband with a hidden gun, and the plot is uncovered. Reunited with the Doctor, they learn that Carla has admitted her part in the crimes, but has sworn that she was working with Ian. They must discover her true accomplice to prove Ian did not kill Eprin. Susan remembers that when Carla was on the phone, the man said he would pick up the key later that night. The Doctor and the officials of Millennius wait, where the Doctor has deduced the key is being kept, in the mace used as evidence in court. The man trying to sneak it away is Isen, the court prosecutor. Ian is freed and the trio return to Arbiton. Altos and Sabatha have travelled ahead with all but the last key. They do not know that Arbiton has been killed and that Yartek now rules Marinus. Yartek has seized the first 4 keys and holds Altos and Sabatha prisoner, awaiting the 5th and final one. Yartek attempts to coerce Altos into revealing the location of the last key, but he refuses to give in. Yartek then exploits Sabatha, with whom Altos is in love, threatening to kill her if he doesn't comply. Altos reveals that the last key is with the Doctor, much to Sabatha's despair. Yartek then imprisons both of them. The Doctor and his companions arrive and fail to find Altos and Sabatha. They split up, Ian and Susan going to find Arbiton with the key and Barbara, and the Doctor going to find Altos and Sabatha. Ian and Susan find someone who appears to be Arbiton, but his face is hidden beneath the hood of his cowled robe. He warns they must not come near him, as he has a dreadful disfiguring disease caused by a power surge from the conscience. However, this is actually a disguised Yartek. Ian gives Arbiton the key and goes to get the Doctor. He finds him releasing Altos and Sabatha, who tell them the Voords now reign on Marinus. Ian says he gave Yartek the false key from the screaming jungle. Although pleased, Sabatha and Altos warn the travelers that inserting the false key will cause the conscience to explode. The travelers run. When Yartek places the false key into the conscience, the machine duly explodes and he is killed along with the occupying Voords. The Doctor and his friends flee the tower with Altos and Sabatha before the growing blaze overtakes the ancient structure. With the conscience destroyed, the people of Marinus must now find their own answers, which the Doctor believes is a good thing. Man was not meant to be ruled by machines. The travelers say goodbye to Altos and Sabatha, who say they will start a new life together in Millennius.